All right, Ando. Three, two, one. Podcast is about to begun. Welcome back, everyone, to Duster, a podcast brought to you by the DVR Podcast Network. Check us out at dvrpodcast.com. Become a patron like Joe Bear and his mom. We are intergenerational Patreon people over here at the DVR Podcast Network. Go to patreon.com/DVR. You can support us. We're independent podcasters. We're sitting in our houses right now. These are not fancy studios. Do not let the background fool you.
There's a reason why mine is blurred.
Yeah, that is just a wall with an air. This thing bothers me so much, this air conditioning unit. Look, I could be like kids in the hall. I'm squeezing the unit. The
This is
Ando
going
is
to make for great podcast material here.
Ando's embarrassed already. But we're here to talk about Duster, the new HBO hit. We are on episode 6 of season 1, and the title is Meet Me by the Close, which Ando is going to explain to us what that means. It's a Russian title, actually. I did not try to pronounce it because I cannot speak Russian.
Yeah,
Can you pronounce it,
it's
Ando?
no, I cannot. And I can more importantly, I cannot read it in Russian. That's my I can maybe say the words, but I can't read what that typing is. The
It's Cyrillic, it's called, right? That when you
okay,
use those uh,
those figures or whatever they're called,
finger,
symbols.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I think like anything that uses what looks, I don't know where it comes from, but I find that interesting. So I think like Chinese, Japanese, Russian, I think they're called Cyrillic
Okay.
because of the shape of their
Yeah.
letters. But that's kind of Eurocentric because in what are we? We ours look different. It's not like theirs are right. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like different stuff.
Just different.
But it's fascinating to me. I find
Hmm.
whenever I see Russian, I'm always like, wow, how do you
Yeah.
that takes something to learn that. Like I couldn't imagine that, you
To
know?
me, yeah, Japanese or Cantonese, those are all I look at them
Yeah.
like, how do you even begin to figure this out? But
And it makes me think too for the show too, for Nina, how knowing Russian, right, is a shocking thing. Just that any American would know Russian. I remember when I was in a course, I took an amazing course at Rutgers University on the Vietnam War. And it was a year-long course, and half the year was taught from the American perspective, and the other
mm-hmm.
half was from the Vietnamese perspective. Okay, so like we're Vietnamese. What was the history before? What was the American history before? And one of the things that I learned is that there were so few Vietnamese speakers in the American government, and they didn't trust anyone
Yep.
to speak it, that this caused issues for years. That they literally just didn't have people who spoke the language,
Yep.
right? And so when I'm watching this and it's 72, I'm like, wow, this is like, we're not understanding what a big deal it is that she speaks Russian.
Well, I
So I
think
think that's like
we
pretty
did get a
cool.
little bit of that this week though when the Russian guy himself says, "How does someone like you
Yeah.
get to be a?" I mean, I think that was more the racial thing, but either way, it still kind of makes sense what
It
he
would
was
be any
saying.
American, though.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. Is like he does point out, okay, you're a black lady in America. How did you learn to speak Russian, right?
Yeah.
But it's any American, really,
Hmm.
would be kind of like, wow, they speak Russian. All right, so we went down that hole. But anyway, Ando, we are sans Heath this week. He will not be joining us. He is out in Burbank in LA painting the town red with his parental units. They're having fun. They're going to
Going out for a
baseball
lot of hot
games,
Sanka, I think
hot
is what he told me.
Sanka or iced Sanka
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
never know. It's pretty hot out there. But yeah, I know Heath does that thing with his dad where they try to go to like every baseball stadium,
Yep.
and
They've only got a few left, I think, is
that's
the last
pretty
time I talked
cool.
to him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fun thing.
Hmm.
That's classic, man. So we wish Heath well. We're also Latoya's not with us this week, our other
Oh,
co-host.
that is sad.
I mean, I don't know what she's doing. Maybe making a TV show or something. She doesn't have time for us this week, Ando. I don't know
Oh,
what's happening.
it's
You
just
know what I'm
disappointing.
saying? I know.
Yes. You
I
think you
know.
know somebody and
I know, right? You spend an hour with them from their whole
yes,
life and they're not your best friend.
I
It's
know.
very strange.
Oh,
Weird the way life works.
yeah, just sad. I'm gonna go cry myself to sleep after the show.
But I do miss her
That
a
was
little more than I miss Heath because I've had a lot of Heath in my time, but I
I
haven't had
know,
enough
but yeah,
Latoya
we
yet,
all have. Yes, I know.
right?
Yes. Oh, yeah, she was awesome. If anybody hasn't
It
listened to that
was,
yet, go
yeah.
back and listen to it because it's amazing. It was
Yes,
a lot of
please
fun.
go back and listen. We had an interview with the co-creator, executive producer, and showrunner, the wonderful, amazing, talented, and beautiful Latoya Morgan, who gave us about 10 or 15 more minutes. We kind of stole it. We thank her for it.
Hmm.
But that was so fun. We were so jazzed that we didn't even do a podcast until today. We went like the longest ever. We went like 5 days without doing a podcast because we were
I
all
know.
like, we can't top it, right? Like,
And you know what? She either actually enjoyed it or she is like the greatest actress of all time because she
oh,
sure sounded like she was having a fun
I,
time. So
I believe her. I
I do
believe her.
too.
I think she had a great time, and hopefully she'll come back. I don't know. I'm feeling good about a season two. I want to start this episode off because we've only got 2 episodes left. And I really like the way that we're bringing things together. We've seen so many seasons before that we know. Episode 6, we got 8. Next episode, our penultimate episode, right? Something big's going to happen leading into the finale. But this was great. We got to see Jim and Nina team up, right? Really, the only secondary kind of B storyline was the protests.
Yeah, and that was almost seized. I mean, there was hardly even, I mean, there was only like two short scenes. It
Yeah,
was
it was
almost a
good
C story.
stuff.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, it
still
was
good.
good
Yeah.
stuff though. I think they did it was very efficient.
Hmm.
It was very efficient the way that each time they checked in, it was realistically showing us the protest, but
Yep.
there was also a development. She talks
Hmm.
to the union leader, then the camera people,
And
right?
we
Like,
only had one scene with Awan and I mean, one scene in the FBI agent
yeah,
yeah, Abbott and everybody. And it's actually this was the shortest episode of the season, 44 minutes. I mean, not that that was a bad thing, but like I said, it kept moved. The timing was and the pace was great on this
yeah.
episode, I thought.
Well, and it makes sense too because we're bringing our people together, right?
Hmm.
Like they finally have this opportunity for Nina and Jim.
Yeah.
Not to ride in the same car though, which really disappointed me. I really have to
That was pretty
say.
funny though.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I just have to sorry, I gotta
Well,
itch my
let's
nostrils as
say while
I
you're doing that, I can say this episode was directed by Steph Green.
there you go.
It's her fourth episode of the season. She did one, two, five, and six, written by Matt Lambert, who also wrote 9 episodes and was a producer of season 2 and season 3 of Into the Badlands. More
Oh,
recently, he
okay.
wrote an episode of Wednesday, and he won an Emmy in 2004 for Best Outstanding Drama Series for producing Shogun, which he also wrote 2 episodes of. So he was one of the producers on Shogun. Yes, so
Well,
nice resume for Mr. Lambert there.
yeah, I think anyone involved in that show is
Yeah.
doing quite well for themselves. That's one for the
Yes.
resume.
Yes, it is.
That's really cool. Now, didn't did Latoya work on Into the Badlands?
Yes, she has a
She
lot
worked
of.
on Into the Badlands too. There
Yep.
you go. There's a connection there. That's interesting. It's always
Hmm.
interesting to make those connections. And that's why it was so cool to have her on too, because we talk so much about the people being real people. And one thing I was thinking about later is it was just so fun because it all goes back, Andy, to talking about Lost and somebody writing us an email and saying that there was lazy writing. And this set me off. You probably remember the episode, and I was
Yep.
I got pissed off because I get annoyed when people talk like this
Uh-huh.
about television, and it is so hard to. There's no such thing as lazy, right? It just doesn't happen.
Hmm.
Like her talking about parenthood, just sitting around having like
Yes, that was.
therapy sessions where they just and that's pre the writing, that's part of the process.
Hmm.
It's just, it's cool. We always want to pay attention because these are real people making art, and being
Yep.
creative. um but yeah, this episode was super fun. And it was just good to see people get together. And I have to give a shout out too. This was a good episode for my boy Billy. We will correctly call him his name now
Yes.
because he said something in this episode that made me so happy is when he made reference to
I
the
think I know what you're
wedding
gonna say.
as the
Yes.
graduate. And I was like,
Yes.
because I said that, I was like waiting for that graduate moment for them to like
Yep.
turn. And he's like, get respect American cinema.
Yes.
And then later on, he yelled out like, Daphne and Genesis are true love or something
Yes.
like
Yeah, that's
that.
what I was gonna. I was looking for that line. That was great. Yeah, he
That
had
was
more character
awesome.
development in this episode than he has the rest of the season. It was great.
But that's good though, because that's what I'm loving about this show is even when Jim tells the story of Sax blowing the two guys away, but then we see other elements of him as a father, as a boss, as a person,
Yep.
right? Just listening to music in the car or something.
Yeah.
And because of the actor that we're really getting both sides of everyone here, right? It's not like stereotypical bad guy, good guy,
Yeah.
which
And
I dig.
the other thing with Billy too is that he was right. If it wasn't for Royce having a crush on Nina, he correctly called out that she's a cop. I mean, he knows that she is, but he basically backed down because Royce is his boss's son. So
Yeah.
it was a really strong episode for Billy. I like that a lot.
Yes, that was awesome. All right, do you want to kind of dive in, kind
Yeah,
of
let's do it.
as we look at our episode, we start with a nice little
The Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid opening,
yeah,
basically.
Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid. And the best part of this one is Josh Holloway played this so good because when she was like, they die at the end, and he was like, it's a freeze frame. And then while the guns are going off, he just gives this moment where he looks off into the distance and he's
Yeah,
thinking about it
like wait a
still.
second.
Yeah, and then he's like brought back into the fact that they're in a gunfight and they continue the conversation. But that's so cool because it's always fun whenever they do the Stephen King type thing and talk about
Yeah,
pop culture within pop culture. Um, and
and I like
that's
this is like the third time I think they've done the 11 hours earlier thing at the be. I like this one. I liked a lot more because you didn't really know what was happening at all, and you it was hard to even it was hard to even have a guess how they got into that. I mean, I figured it was something to do with the Russians, but how it actually ended up getting into that first scene later on in the episode, I really liked how they wrote that.
isn't that part of the fun, Ando? Because I remembered that he was holding like a briefcase,
Hmm.
okay? And then when we watch the opening credits, the thing
Yeah.
added is a briefcase and money falling
Yep.
down
Off the
as we
loop
go
de
through
loop.
the
Yeah.
loop, right?
Yep.
So I'm thinking, okay, and then what happens later? Sachs walks out with a briefcase, right? And it's the money. And then we see the Russians have another briefcase. So the one that Jim was holding was actually not the money, it was with whatever they got from the Russians,
Yeah.
which may also be what Nixon and the other people are looking
Yeah.
for.
The Pulp Fiction briefcase is what
Yeah,
I also
thank
like
you.
to call it in my
Exactly.
notes.
Oh,
Yeah.
you open it up, the
Yeah.
MacGuffin of all MacGuffins.
Yes. Yes.
Um, well, isn't that Marcellus Wallace Soul? Because that's why the Band-Aid is on the back of his neck.
That's what always the rumor has. Tarantino and I can't remember his co-writer's name right now. I've never actually confirmed that. I think that's always been the rumor is that
Roger
it was his
Avery.
soul. Roger Avery, there you go.
Yeah. Who
Yeah, I
who
don't think
was
that's
his
ever been confirmed.
partner
Yep.
and I think worked at him with the video store, directed a very good movie with famous redhead taken
Uh,
at Eric
rule.
Stoltz.
I was thinking what was the name of that one? He also did the one with Josh Hart in it, didn't he? Rules of Attraction. Wasn't that him in that? That was
That
Roger
was
Avery, I
later,
think.
right? I
Okay,
think
that was
that was,
later.
but then remember,
What was that?
he went to jail because he hit someone like in a hit and run or something by
Oh,
accident, or
okay.
there was something involved, and then he
Yep.
came out of jail. Yeah, it was an interesting story. He has a podcast now. Anyway, so
I think it's
anyway,
with I think him and Tarantino together on that podcast, I think.
Killing
There you
Zoe,
go. There you go. Killing
Killing
Zoe.
Zoe. That's it.
Yep.
I always get Perry hates me because whenever I see the name Zoe, I say Zoe, but people say Zoe, or is it the other way? I don't know. I get mixed up between Zoe and Zoe.
I usually say Zoe,
What?
but I don't know.
Zoe, you say
Yeah.
Zoe, right?
Yeah.
I say Zoe. I don't know why.
Well, I know like Zoe Saldana is spelled that way, and that's how she always says that's how her name is always pronounced, like who was in
See, that's
Guardians of the
interesting.
Galaxy and all that stuff. So
Oh, that's I
I don't know. Maybe it's different depending on how you want it pronounced, I guess. I don't know.
um because you know what it might be is that it's from I don't know why I think that way. Anyway, let's keep moving on. The fun part is you're right, Ando. We want to think to ourselves, how did they get into this situation? They have a briefcase. They're together. That's what throws it off, right? Like, so then you have to think to yourself, uh-oh, does Sax or Royce or Billy find out about her, which then means that they have to turn against them, and that's who they're fighting, right? And then I was thinking, okay, wait, no, then they're fighting the Russians, and we don't see that.
That's what I thought it was because the
Yeah,
last time we saw him, that we had said that she had
yep.
to ride with him. I'm like, okay, the Russian deal must have went south. That's what I was guessing was happening, and I was pleasantly
But
surprised that was not what happened.
okay, I got it. As soon as they met, as soon as Sax says to Jim, we got to settle the shit with Greek Sal, is
Yeah.
his name, right?
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I got a little tingle in the mind. But then when they had the meeting with those guys, and those guys were like, fuck this, we're following them. I thought to myself, okay, they're going to bust open this thing.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen. But then I got so caught up in the episode that I forgot until they were staring through the window.
Well, that's one cool thing about the well,
That's
and
good
even
writing, right? Like I totally forgot. I kind of
well,
figured it
and
out, but then I
that's
forgot.
one good thing about it being so fast paced is you don't really have time to sit there and like overanalyze everything because it's
Hmm.
moving such fast pace that
Yeah.
it's brilliant in that way.
Well, also because you're having fun. I am
Yeah.
never bored in this show.
Oh.
We are 6 episodes in, and I watch a lot of TV, and you do too. And even in really good shows,
Hmm.
there'll be times when it's a little slow. Your mind wanders.
Yep.
You
You
all of
can
a
check the
sudden
phone
wonder,
or yeah, whatever.
yeah.
Yep.
See, that's what I was going to say. You think should you check the phone? You're already checking the phone, Ando. I was just thinking about it. I was like, maybe I got texted or something, or
Yes.
where's the kid?
Fair enough.
But in this episode and as in the others, I didn't because it keeps moving, and the
Hmm.
characters are so fun, and the music in this episode was fucking awesome again too. When the big
Yes.
payback hits, revenge. I love
Yeah.
God. Oh my God, I listened to that song so many times. I could do a little dance right now. I got a little dance that goes along with that. I do a little shake
That'll be for Patreons only.
for, for Patreon. Axel does the little James Brown shake.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was watching something the other day. Oh, the Led Zeppelin doc. Remember when they broke
Yeah.
out the James Brown
Uh-huh.
falling, and then the guys come out and wave him, right?
Yeah.
And they
Revive
lift him
him.
up
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
revive. They do the whole thing. I was like, oh man, I never discovered that until I got into like Jimi Hendrix, and I started when I was in college, and I started watching at our library like old videos of like old music performances. I got into that, and then I saw that stuff, and then I it was just like, what a
It's
performance, man.
my introduction to James Brown was from Eddie Murphy. So
Oh
playing
yeah,
James
get out
Brown.
the hot tub. Too cold.
Yes.
Get too
Yes.
cold. Get in the hot tub. Too hot.
Yes. That's where I first learned of him.
Yeah.
And I did my research through that. So
Well, I mean, I always knew of James Brown,
yeah.
but I had never seen like I mean, we are old enough to him being ubiquitous. It's James
Yeah.
Brown. You hear the music, but like I didn't really understand that whole. That comes from like preachers, right? Like that's a
Hmm.
preacher thing that you would do in
Yeah.
like revivals, and he brought it into that.
Yep.
But it's so funny because the guy is just standing there the whole time with his jacket.
Yeah.
Like when you watch, he's like, "Is he ready?" Oh, and then he comes back and he goes,
Uh-huh.
"No." He shoos him away and then he brings him back, and that is so awesome. Anyway, it just that one song brings the memories in, man. Um, yeah, so they have that fun conversation. They jump out. Then we get to see our credits again, which the new thing again is the money coming down. And then we start out, of course, with we're 11 hours earlier. Now, if you remember, there were two other episodes where we did this. It was episode 2 and
Yeah,
episode
the one
3.
was kind of focused on Jim and the other was focused on Nina, but they were
Right.
back to back.
Okay. So, because I'm a psycho and the lost numbers obsessed us all, I always look at numbers, even if it
Yeah.
isn't by a show that JJ is involved in. It was 15 hours in the first time they did this. It
Okay.
was 13 hours the second time they did it, and it is 11 hours.
So the next time we're gonna get 9 hours, is what you're saying?
There's a pattern here. I'm just saying. There is a What does it mean? Probably Latoya's watching this and laughing at me right now and
Yeah.
saying, Foley, we just picked this at random to fuck with you. But it does go 15, 13, 11. I'm just saying, okay? Just saying. I
Yeah.
know we only have 2 episodes left. They could only get to 9 and they could get to 7, right? But
Yeah. Well,
if at the end of this season there's like a lock they have to open and the combination is 15, 13,
13, 11.
11, 9 or something, I'm going to say that I was right.
We should have told her after she gave us all that shit about overanalyzing stuff that we just came off of Severance, so our
I know.
minds are just we're way
That's true.
overthinking everything.
That's true. And I'm also hearing Solo yelling at us right now. You mentioned the damn interview again. Let it be its own thing. Well, by the way, we were talking about this with someone else just recently. That is going to be one of the all-time podcast highlights.
Yep.
Um,
Oh, it is for me already, for sure.
so basically, they have their conversation here, Jim and Nina, and he's nervous for her, I think.
And
And I think,
I was gonna say quick, the best thing about this, I didn't pick it up till the second time I watched this conversation because he tells the story about Sax shooting the two guys in
yeah,
the head,
yep,
and he says, yeah, I asked my dad later why he did that, and he said he didn't like the way one of them smiled. Later on, when Nina gets picked up to go to the Russian place,
yep.
Nina says, "I'll tell you if you don't even like the way they smile." I mean, she directly references the same line I was like,
She
"Man,
sure
that is
does.
great. That was so great."
Yeah, and Sax says, "I knew I'd like you."
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, it was so great.
Yeah,
Ugh,
that was really interesting. I thought, and I think this is also a development of that Jim is a guy who cares about people, right?
yep,
Like he wants to be, and in this episode, he's stepping up, and we see two instances, of course, where he does successfully kind of bring things together, right? First with the Greeks and then with the Russians, he figures out how to smooth things over. And that's
yep.
always been his job. He's a middleman, right? You know what I mean? Like he has to do
He's
that.
he's Henry
Um,
fucking Kissinger, according to Billy.
there you go. There you go. But he's also developing a, I think, feelings for Nina. Whether they're going to be more later on in the hotel when she's cleaning him up, it looks like I don't think she's really thinking about that. Now, I mean, maybe she is, but that's not as forward a part of her personality as it is for him, right? Like he's known as a ladies'
I
man.
think they both were a little bit personally, but
Okay. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
it was a little
it's Josh
moment. I
Holloway,
kind
you
of
know what
hope
I'm
it
saying?
doesn't happen, but I think it'd be more interesting if it didn't because like I hope it's more Butch Cassidy and Sundance than Bonnie and Clyde because but we'll see.
Yeah, but
I'm fine with it going either way.
he would be Bonnie in this situation though. Or
And
maybe
he,
was Body wasn't she real? I forget that film. They were both equally pushing that forward, if I remember
yeah, yeah,
correctly.
they were both not
They
very
were
good people.
equals,
It's I
yeah.
haven't seen it in probably 10 years or more longer, but
Well, it's a little bit different because in the Terrence Malick what is that? Badlands, right?
oh yeah, yeah.
A little bit different. I felt like it was a little bit more on the Martin Sheen side, but it's kind of the same story, right? In a
Man, I haven't
sense.
seen Badlands forever. I need to watch that again.
I mean,
It's
that's
been a
very different, but it
yeah.
is Tim Wolf's story. But
Hmm.
I'm going to go against you, Ando. I'm shipping them. I am ready. Yes, I said this word. I'm ready for them to be a couple because I don't know. I just think it would be fun.
Well,
And
it's going to be fun no matter what they do, so I won't be disappointed with whatever happens. But
but Jim is we've seen him waking up in beds and he just has his ladies and he doesn't want to be daddy and he's and I think Nina in the same way, though, when she tells the story later, or actually I should say earlier, when she tells the story of a man, Trevor, I think she says his name, right? Who
yep.
mistreated her and made her scared to be in her own home. I think she is referencing her ex-fiance, correct?
Oh, I never thought of it
That
that
she,
way, but you might
yeah,
be right.
that she talked to Awan about. I think this is
Uh-huh.
the same guy, and that's why she cries. Is
Yeah,
she's
using
doing
her
what she was told
previous
to do,
experience. Yeah.
right?
Build on
When
her own
she
experience. Yeah.
in her acting lesson, she
Wow, I
built on
didn't
her
pick
own
up on that.
experience.
I like that idea. That's
Yeah, and I think that that says something to us about why Nina is pushing,
uh-huh.
right? And that is obviously with what's happening with the protests, a very similar situation there, right? And
Yeah.
she gets where even she's told, don't push so much. So I thought that that was really interesting.
Hmm.
But I see the relationship right here in the beginning. He's like, "Come on, Baltimore," and she's like, "Right back at you."
Yeah.
I just love their relationship.
The chemistry on screen is just great
Yeah.
between Rachel Hilson and Holloway.
Let me tell you something. Now, this is the first time we're seeing her, for me, an extended. Rachel, I've seen her act in other things, but this is the first time extended getting to know her, and she's amazing. And I would think that she could have chemistry with anything. But I know Josh Holloway could have chemistry with a rock. Like
Yeah.
you
It's
could do like a back and forth where he's like, "Come on, baby, what come over here," and it'd be like talking to my mouse
yep.
and you would believe it, his side of it, right? And then you'd start to think the mouse had personality.
Yes.
So he's really good at that. Then we get the good protest stuff. I like the way that this is. I like the way that Izzy is having a bigger role in the show,
Hmm.
and by default Luna too, because she's there the whole time,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
it's yeah, I mean, I think I even said way back in episode 1 or 2, I figured we would end up at a point where there was some kind of union conflict with, and I'm sure
yeah,
that's going to be one of the last couple episodes. It's there these scenes weren't like we learned anything new really, but they needed to happen just for the plot to keep going. So I'm glad that we had him here. She does have one great line where she says sometimes pissing people off is the only way to get things done, which
yeah.
it was still great. Even though it was a short scene, it was really great still.
Same thing Nina said to the Emmy, and
Hmm.
right, and is kind of in her conversation with Abbott as conversations, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is a general theme here. I like that, right?
Hmm.
And I think that I don't know. I was born in 1974. I kind of like this spirit. To me, it's like Americana. You know what I mean?
No,
You
for sure.
stand up for what you believe in, you get the people together, you organize, and even when the union itself doesn't do its job, you organize against the organized,
Yep.
right? Like you keep pushing it. So I just love seeing this represented on television in some way, in a positive way, you know?
So, do you get the impression that Sax knows that that's Jim's ex whatever?
Man, Andy,
I don't
everybody
think he
knows
does.
everybody. I'm not so sure either. And I'm also not sure that Nina knows. Does Nina know? How would Nina know? Because he makes reference
Well,
to it later too.
he does say something to Nina before they're in that gunfight that says, don't tell Luna that I'm her father."
Right. That's what I'm
So
saying.
Nina
And
has to know something that they're involved with that somehow. I don't know though, because I would think that if Sax knew that that was a close person to him, he would go to Jim and say, "Hey, get a handle on her," or whatever he would say, something like that. And he doesn't really seem to. I don't know. Something's curious there. It surprises me that they
this
don't
is
reference
this is
that.
what I'm talking about, okay? This is what I'm saying, right? It's the whole thing surrounding his relationship with her, not saying he's the daughter. Does Sax know about it? Does he keep it separate from Sax because that's why he doesn't want her to know
Yeah,
he's her father? Do you
that's
see what I'm
probably
trying to
more.
say?
Yeah, that's probably more important. Does Sax know he has a
That's
daughter?
what I think.
I think you're
I
right.
don't, I don't, I would think that he thinks Sax doesn't know,
Yep.
but maybe he does,
I would bet Sax does
right?
know, but I bet you're right. I bet they don't want anyone to know that because it would endanger the Saxon connection could endanger her.
That's how I think about
Yep.
it
I
when I
like
would,
that.
why is it a secret?
Hmm.
um, to keep those lives separate. Now, when he later says that to Nina, tell Luna, don't tell Luna I'm her dad, but I think he may have. Did he mention her in an earlier conversation
I don't remember
with?
that
I,
happening, but
that's why I was confused that she would know who that even was. So, and the only reason I mention it, and if she doesn't, and it's just an offhand line, we don't need to spend a lot of time on it. But it's only because I only think that it could come into play if Genesis or Royce know, and then the
yeah.
relationship that we've seen him develop in a more recent relationship with Genesis, but also a little bit more antagonistic with Royce,
Hmm.
right? And Jim than it is with Genesis and Jim.
Oh, for
So
sure.
could that information be used? We also know, of course, that in the first episode, right?
Yeah.
Jim ran a scheme with an old girlfriend of his who had a very tall Viking looking boyfriend, as we remember, to take pictures of Bob in a compromising position.
Yeah.
Where are those pictures? Who holds them right now? Because if Jim has those pictures, then he could then use them to Izzy's advantage, but this would not make Sax happy, knowing that Sax wants his all to go away because it's bringing focus onto Snowbird and his
Hmm.
distribution and trucking business.
Yeah.
I think I covered it.
Yeah, I think he did too. Yeah, the exact line that he says is, "Don't tell Luna about me being her dad, all right? But tell her to take care of the duster, keep her purring like I did for Joey." So Nina must know about. I mean, he wouldn't just say that because she didn't have some reaction like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah,
So
it's also I think it's also okay for us to understand that they may have talked off screen at some point
yeah,
and mentioned this that we don't know. But I
yep,
just thought it was interesting to me because that shows a level of trust then
hmm,
with her that he doesn't have with Sax and Royce or Genesis. Who knows that that's his kid?
yep,
Now Nina knows, right? So that's why I think it's an interesting thing. Um, but yeah, I think they did a great job with the building they chose, which definitely looks like a 70s building, like love the location.
yeah,
The signs, just everything looked great. It looked like an old fashioned, good old protest, gave her more screen time. Then we have the interesting scene where Royce is taking his pills, psyching himself up in the mirror, and he's stepping into his purpose. He's uncovering his power. He's manifesting the day, as the kids say today. Everything old is new again. Whenever,
And
right?
yeah, and more importantly, the maid comes in and says that Dr. Cohen sent him more meds and no alcohol with those
Yeah.
meds, which
Which
was
of course
we all
becomes
knew that was coming
ultimately
back to play
important.
at some
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
But it does, but it continues along the lines with his uneven behavior, Sax not trusting it, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But we see he's going to step up, because how is he going to step up? He's going to count money in front of people.
The I do love how we kind of cut back into that scene a couple times with Royce talking, and I want to just because I love calling out the great lines. That second time his dad comes in and interrupts, and he's like, "What the hell was that? Some kind of flower power prayer shit?" And man, Keith David, just every time he's on screen, I want more of Keith David. He's so fantastic in this show.
Oh man. I've never coveted someone's voice as much as I covet his voice. It's very, it's a lot of,
Yes.
because, there's the whole like, in a world. I can do that. You know what I'm saying? I can do that. But
Yeah.
his voice is something that I cannot achieve because it's acting too. He is a
And
talent.
there was also two or three times in this episode at the end of a sentence he added "you dig" on the end of the sentence, and every time I'm like, "Yes, please, more of this."
I want him to do my voice message. Mine isn't good. I've actually had people ask me, I've done it a couple times, to
Yeah.
do their voice message for them. Hello, what is not home? Like that. And I've also fooled a bunch of people, but I would love to have him do my voicemail.
So good.
But yeah, this works out so good too. And then we get I like that we're getting more Billy in this. Sax has a combo with Royce again, like you said. Yeah, Billy's been doing a lot. I like that I'm really happy that we're getting more of his character, because it would be
Yeah.
really easy. It's like, what is cool about this show is that it improves upon those 70s shows. It's not just aping it to give us some nostalgic
Yeah.
buzz. It's improving upon it, because in those old shows we would not get this much of a rounded
Well,
character for
he'd be
Billy.
a caricature. He'd
Yes,
be
yeah,
thug number one,
and it
who
would
was
be
just
over
an
the
asshole to
top.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We'd walk in on him breaking someone's head open, or
Yep.
it'd be stereotypical. And this is more interesting,
Yeah.
that he like stands up for Genesis, and he loves film,
Yeah.
and he's
That's
fucking with Jim, but
hmm
he's giving him props too,
Yep.
right? But he's also still suspicious about Nina enough to check up on it off, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I loved everything about that this
Hmm.
episode. Um, we get this extended scene of Nina in the FBI office. Um,
Before we get to that too, there's one other line I wanted to mention that
please do.
it was that same scene when Saxton comes in and says, "What the hell was that? Some kind of flower power prayer shit." He also drops a line that makes me fear for Keith David the rest of this season. He tells Royce, "One day I'll be gone and you'll be calling the shots." I
Oh yeah. Well,
I'm like, huh, that
that could
doesn't.
be foreshadowing. I
That's
hope
kind of what
not.
I got. I'm like, oh, please no, but it's
But
now it's in the
but
back of my mind.
but Ando, that is though also a way of us knowing that he's saying something to his son that we as an audience don't quite believe, right?
Yeah,
Like I don't really believe, like we're talking about that because he heard the thing about Joe, remember, or I should say Jim did. We know that he may have been second in line, right, in front of
yeah,
Royce, and that was only 2 years ago. So, and now Royce has his heart problem. He wants him to
and
hide it. He doesn't want anyone to know because it
that he had heart
projects
surgery. Yeah, it's
projects weakness. So
I can't see unless Saxton is so committed to the my oldest son has to take over the business thing.
wow,
I mean, but if he just looks at it realistically, why would he be the right choice for it? He wouldn't.
he
But
wouldn't. That's what I'm saying. Sachs is smarter than that.
yeah,
So I don't believe him, but he's telling his son that, and he believes it. And maybe that's not such a good thing,
hmm
because with what we've seen this episode with Jim stepping up so quickly, I mean, so quickly and ably
Yes.
solving two situations for him, even though, let's be honest, he's caused more than two we've seen in the previous episodes.
Yeah.
And he's an
Yeah.
FBI informant, okay? But we'll put that to the side. And he was ready to have Joey be the next in
Well,
line.
maybe
Could
maybe that's
Jim?
where this show goes in the next season is maybe
That's
Jim
what
is in
I'm
charge of
trying to
Saxton,
say,
and
man.
then we have Jim versus Nina.
Yeah. What is, but what, there's that choice though, too, is do I keep digging or do I stop digging?
Hmm.
Or is it I found out the information, but what use is that information if I could have this power?
Yep.
Then maybe that is more useful to me. I can actually do something about it, you know? So that is also setting up that dilemma as well, which is pretty fascinating. Um, yeah, man, it's good stuff. We shall
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
let's
what else we got
oh,
here. Oh, well, yeah,
now
now
we're
back to the FBI, where they're at the FBI and she realizes
yeah,
somebody had messed with her desk and
I love that because I would be the same way, Ando. You know, I'm OC to the D, bro. I can
yes.
oh Lachlan fucking hates it. When he was a little kid, I used to come and I'd be like, "Why did you touch my shoe?" He's like, "No, I didn't." I was like, yes, you did, because it was over here. Don't lie to your
Yes.
father, who's crazy." But I was thinking that we were going to get something to go. This is what I was thinking is I thought it was going to be because we're all convinced something's up with the cactus
Yeah.
that Kelly gave her. I
Yep.
thought she was going to notice it was a different cactus or something, or the cactus was going to come into play. Because I like Kelly, and she's mentioned again in this episode, right?
Hmm.
He's like, who's Kelly? The cleaning
Yeah,
lady,
Abbott
right?
has no idea who she is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why do we keep on mentioning Kelly? And she gave her, I think Kelly is
A
working
plant
with
of
Grant.
Saxton. Or
Yeah,
with Grant.
no,
Okay.
no, with Grant. And I think Kelly's working with the guy with the cowboy hat. And I think that that
Well,
is a
I
sound
still think
device or
she's going to be
something.
one of the teammates that helps Awan and Nina at some point in the crunch situation when they need it. That's what I'm going with. I still think, but either one is a possibility for
Are you
sure.
saying my insane theory for no reason could possibly not be true, Andy? Please.
Never. I would
All
never
right,
say that.
let's move on. But this was great because it was a back and forth. We're trying to see how Grant's going to get involved. And we also see that Grant is running the old trick the dumbass into thinking that you're doing a secret undercover op so he can take any of the blame and
Uh,
all the risk.
Yep.
So that's that guy's role,
Yep.
basically. Grant
Yeah.
just
The
convinces him.
I can't remember what the other guy's name is right now, but yeah, we also learned that Paris Guilford is a nickname. Name is actually Sybil Waiteka. I'm not sure if that really means anything, and she's a legit supplier of explosives to demolition companies east of
Yep.
the Rockies, based out of St. Louis with no criminal record. So now St. Louis. I don't have we had heard St. Louis mentioned? I don't think we've had besides maybe once. Maybe Saxton mentioned it as in one of his stories that he was
Maybe.
telling.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that too. Yeah, this was good stuff inside the office.
Hmm.
But the one thing I have to say is, I mean, Grant does later show up, and that does cause a problem for her. But it's not a huge thing. Like when he picked up man in the cowboy hat at the airport, and they're like, he's going down there to fuck shit up, take care of this problem. They're not being too quick or efficient so far that we've seen. Showing up there is not doing much. Fucking with her desk, looking through her shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
Well,
it seems,
showing up might I don't. I'm questioning whether Grant is actually a very really knows what he's doing
well, there
because
you go. That's also
him showing
yeah.
up there could end up being really bad because that put Billy onto Nina's scent.
It did. No, you're right. It did cause it. I'm just saying it did cause a lot of problems, but it's not like killing her and putting
Yeah,
her, shooting her up with LSD and taking her to the sanitarium, which is what
yeah.
we were kind of talking a little, like I thought the plan might move a little quicker, though I'm glad it didn't because we got to get all this great stuff with
Yeah,
Nina and him.
I have a feeling that Grant is just a little peon and doesn't
Yeah,
really. He thinks
I
he's
agree.
smarter than he is, and
That's
he's
good.
cocky. And I just get the feeling he's kind of an idiot because if you wanted to know that, why would you park there somewhere she could see you? Why wouldn't you just watch from afar and see what's happening instead of him just pulling right up to the hotel? I mean, that just seemed like an idiot move if you were doing surveillance, unless you're just that cocky. So I don't know. I
Yeah,
think he's kind of an idiot, but we'll see.
we shall see. And also, you know what? It is good. There are stupid people in the world, and also people don't always do everything right.
Yep.
So we jump out of that. Well, yeah, that's all we get of a wand. It's very quick.
Quick, there
It's
was a little quick scene with Abbott too.
yeah.
And he just says, "Get in, get out, don't get dead." Like he was getting mad that he's like, "Make sure to be safe." So I don't think I think Abbott is safely on the good team good side here now. I think.
Yes. Well, his wife is telling him he better be because
Yes.
she's checking her Twitter and she's hashtag Team Nina.
Well, and I think Abbott is starting to realize that Nina actually is a good agent and knows what she's doing, and gaining trust in
Well,
her. I think.
also she still has 2 inches, right?
Yes.
With the what the ad sac, isn't that what his name is?
Um,
Isn't that what it's
ASAC.
called? ASAC. Okay,
Yep.
I should know that. ASAC. I won't
Assistant
make the
Special
joke.
Agent in Charge, I think is what it stands for.
In my mind, Ando, I was going 12-year-old, but that's okay. That's just my son and his friends that I.
Well, that's kind of what Grant did when he walked out and slapped Jessica's on the rear end as he's walking out after
Yeah,
he's just not a good dude.
and that hints more towards the he's a dummy. They don't
Yeah.
have the right person in charge.
Yep.
Um, we get this fun scene with the Greek guys at the I couldn't read the sign. What was the name of it? Was it
Valley Point Speedway.
Valley Point? Okay. And I was a little disappointed that they didn't just say, "Hey, while we're here, let's race."
Let's
You
race.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, I thought they
That
were
would have
just
been
gonna
good. Yeah.
race. They're at a speedway. They've got those
Yeah.
cars. Come on. They must have like they had time. They must have taken a spin around a little bit there.
I'm sure they
Um,
did.
but this was fun because it was fun to see these 2 guys again from last episode, right?
Hmm.
This whole scene was just great, and Billy was fun, and the 2 guys were fun, and I also like
Fuck
that
you, Coppola. Yeah, there was some good lines in there.
I like that they're picking up on that shit too, that they
Yeah.
reappear,
Yep.
right? Like um, Raoul and such. As soon as they said it, as soon as he said it, we got to take care of that thing. I was like, oh, okay, cool. We're picking right back up here with this storyline.
When they take off, there was I didn't catch this till last night either. When the two guys from Sal are talking to each other after they leave, one of them says Jim's acting all high and fucking mighty, or all fucking high and mighty, like we're gonna forget what him and Joey did back in Tucson. So they referenced something that him and his brother did in Tucson together,
Interesting.
which I thought was an interesting line.
That's I was that the only mention of that this episode?
I think so. I don't
Did
remember
they?
Tucson or
Okay,
Joey
maybe
really
that's
being
what
mentioned.
I'm remembering. Okay, I had it tucked in my mind.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I like that. And also I like that they're like the 2 thugs. They remind me of the 2 Mormon guys. You know what I'm
snorting
saying?
coke right in the car in the
Yeah,
middle of the,
that
yeah, it's
that
yeah.
was fun. The whole
Let's
thing
see
was
what other
just fun.
shit they're up to and fuck it up for them is the line.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's great, just great
Um,
lines.
Then we get Nina walking out, and this is when she runs into Grant, and they give her a great some strut music.
Awesome leather outfit.
Yeah, she looks fucking gorgeous and amazing. And yeah, like we talked about, little thing with them. Then we get the whole Billy scenes and him kind of grilling her about what's going on with the ex or who was that guy. And it was funny because what she comes around to is what I thought she was going to say initially. I didn't think she was going to say it was a client because that brings him into their business. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
and it just in that world, I thought she was going to say, "Who was that?" I thought she was going to be like, "That was that was some married guy from Phoenix I picked up in a bar last night. You know what I'm saying? He just dropped my ass off. I thought she was going to play it off like that, and then they would have been like, "Oh, okay." You know what I mean? But
The we've also I remember a couple times like when we talked about the little toy that Jim got and why it was a quarter, and so we've looked at like what things cost,
yeah,
and it says on the outside of the hotel it was $23.50
yeah,
a night, and according to the Hilton Corporation in 1972, the average was $23.85. So
there
they're
you
right
go.
on there. So
There you go.
our
Well,
conspiracy theory of in a different time or something is, I think, dropping out the window pretty quickly. But
um, we still do have the comic book, which we did not
yes,
ask about during the interview because I didn't want to bring anything up.
I
But
thought about it and I'm like,
yeah,
you know what? We don't need to go down that road right now.
yes, it will. We'll see. We'll see. It could be a thing. It couldn't be a thing. One thing I do want to shout out is that I did check, and the Morgan State University mug. There
Hmm.
is a Morgan State University,
Yes, for sure.
and I because for a second I thought I don't know. There's a lot of I thought it might just be a shout out to Latoya Morgan. Get it? Morgan State.
Yeah,
Um, but it is a famous HBCU.
it's in Maryland, I think.
Yeah.
Yep,
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Yep. Well, yeah, it makes
Baltimore?
sense because yeah, Baltimore from
Exactly.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. Yeah.
So that's
I
cool.
just knew of it because they make the NCAA tournament every once in a while, so I had heard of the
Oh,
university
interesting.
before. Yep.
Yeah, interesting. But that was an interesting shout out too. And I like the way that Nina and Jim are kind of giving each other little, little looks here
Yeah.
and there, little side.
A lot
She
of
can't.
nonverbal communication.
Yes, definitely. And again, I was disappointed. I think they wanted to ride in the car together so they could kind of chat, but he ends up having a ride with Billy.
Yeah.
And then now I found interesting the have we seen the other driver here? I didn't catch his name, the older guy.
Yeah. He was the guy that I know we've seen a couple episodes back because I looked him up and he was the guy that was one of the flight attendants on Flight 815 in Lost.
Oh,
He was the guy that's
really?
been in
Oh,
all the
okay.
J.J. Abrams stuff.
Oh, okay, cool. Cool. Well, I thought that was interesting just because it's almost like they kind of have another driver or you know what I'm
Because
saying?
he drives the Jag all the time. Because like when he was
Okay.
the guy that when Jim cut the coolant pipe or whatever that was a few episodes back, and then he
Ah.
couldn't go anywhere. I can't remember. I can't. I got
Oh,
his name
okay.
here
So it
somewhere. I just
wasn't
can't remember
that
what it is.
Billy was going to drive him. It was that he was going to drive.
Yeah,
Okay,
his
that's
normal
interesting.
driver. Yep.
Yeah.
Because he
Okay.
was there at the end too when 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 Sax leaves and everybody else stays in before the right before the shootout.
Yeah. What
That's who Sax left with.
I'm trying to find, I don't see him on IMDb. I don't see his name.
I'll find it. I got it in my notes here. I'll
Okay.
find it.
Um, but I just thought the whole conversations they have, and also we see Royce taking a little bit of a liking to Nina, no doubt. He's
Yeah.
like, slow down, son. Gets mad at for telling him about the heart, Good conversations though. And then of course Billy is just talking to
Uh,
Jim.
Norman is his name. Jonathan
Norman.
Dixon.
It is Norman. Okay,
Yep.
because he is actually in real life much younger looking. Unless this is an old IMDb. Maybe it's just an old IMDb.
Yep, I'm like 99% sure that's who that is,
Okay.
according to my own. And he's been in like almost all the JJ stuff.
Yeah.
Alias, Star Trek, Force
Interesting.
Awakens.
And he was in Solo. But yeah, I think, oh, he was born in 1965, so he's about, well, I guess I guess when it's like those things when people in
Yeah.
the 70s always
Yeah.
looked older, even when
Yeah.
they were younger, which
Yeah.
is kind of true, right?
Well, and that's still
But
60 years old, so
yeah, still 60. I
there was
mean,
a good line too there right when Billy
9 years older than me. That's not too much.
after Billy's first starts grilling Nina about what's going on. And Jim has, I got a lot of Tarantino references in this episode, like a lot of just at least Tarantino feel. One of the lines he says after when Jim talks to her after Billy leaves is like, "We are miles from fucking cool." Now that just seems like a Tarantino line, or it was said in something. And
Yeah.
lots of other references as we go, like even that James Brown song that was heavily used in Django Unchained. They do a Reservoir Dogs walk later in this episode. The
Yep.
briefcase. I just got tons of Quentin Tarantino vibes in this. I might have
I
been why I
like
love
that.
this episode so much. So
Well, that's awesome too, because when you do an homage to an homage to an homage, because everything
yes.
Tarantino does is an homage, is something that
Hmm.
he saw in another movie, but then he also makes it feel entirely new.
And
I was,
that might be why I love this show so much because she even talked about it when we talked to Latoya
yeah,
last week that there's so many like when she said when one of us asked what the references were and she listed off like 10 movies off the top of her head and I was like that might be why I love this because she's taken a lot of those things and made them fresh and made them cool and just fun to watch.
that's what you want to do, right?
Hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Like even make it better.
Yeah.
That's why, like Inglorious Bastards, he took World War II and he made it better. Hitler got
Yes.
fucked,
That's
right?
exactly right. Yes.
It was awesome. The Bear Jew killing some motherfuckers with a baseball bat. We're here to kill some Nazis. And if you got a
Yes.
problem with that, you forget, man. Brad Pitt, what a fucking actor, dude.
The one
Always
and
eating
only.
something.
Yes. Well,
Always eating something.
you know what? His
Um,
movie opens this weekend. Are you going to go to the theater to watch your F1?
I think I am gonna try to take Lachlan and go see
It
F1
looks
because I
good.
am an F1 fan. I
I know
fucking
you
love it.
are.
I'm a little like the Americanization part of the fascination for F1 to me is that each weekend I get to leave the United States and I get to go somewhere else, right?
Hmm.
Um, Europe, Asia, China, wherever, right? I go everywhere and you hear different voices and stuff. So the Brad Pitt of it, the kind of, I like that it's a British kid though. That I like that because that's more realistic.
Yeah, it looks
Um,
good.
yeah, it's going to be fun, dude. And just the engines, and our good friend Elton, who has the Grand Prix podcast, I'm sure we'll be going to see that. The inventor of J.J. Abrams, sons.
Yes.
um, so I love when they pulled up. So we go back. We're going back and forth. We've talked all about the protests are heating up. Bob calls Sachs, lets him know, right? I love, love, love this whole Red Rocks generator. What's it? What's it?
Yeah, Red Rock Generating Station. It's a
Generating station.
some kind of power station. Yeah.
I
Such a
thought
cool
that
set.
it was just a cool set. That's
Yeah.
right. You have to go to an old abandoned factory of some shit, industrial looking place, and meet up with some Russians. This is a
It's
must.
it's it's kind of like a few episodes back where the cops meet in the old abandoned barn and stuff. It's just they're all
Yeah.
same kind of cool. Yes. This was very
Yeah.
cool.
And the coolest part, too, I have to add, which I love, is that their car is inside the place,
Yeah.
right? Like they drove in.
Yeah.
And that's just a little added touch with the blocking and such that they get to drive out to, right? That I just really liked. And
Hmm.
it makes me wonder, it's like, that's not where they were. I would be shocked if I don't even know if that's real where they drove up to. That could have been CGI,
Yeah.
for all I know. But I love to think about those decisions of like, wait a second. So then we have to walk out and then the guys drive in and then we have the fight and they go back into the thing. No, 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 no. Just everyone drives into they need to be able to drive into it so we can do all that and then they can drive out and it's one set. We don't need to do a separate location for where the cars are. That's the way I think about it.
Hmm.
But either way, it works out because it's very old school. I feel like I'm watching The Bionic Man or something.
Yeah.
Um,
And
the
you know,
whole
did you catch the? I think there was a in the middle of that fight when Nina does one of her dive roll things. I'm pretty sure it was the $6 Million Man sound
It
that
was,
plays.
I think it was a kink, 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 like that kind of
Yeah,
sound you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like "Du-du-du-du-du-du," or whatever the yeah, it's
I think it was.
I'm pretty sure it was
Maybe
too.
Bionic Woman.
Or yeah, there you go. One of them.
Yeah, which was Bionic Woman and um, Wonder Woman, two of the most influential women in my life, probably when I was a young boy.
Yes.
And Miss O'Connor, my kindergarten teacher, who when I met my wife, I was like, you remind me of my kindergarten teacher. I want to marry you. We're getting personal here. It's true.
Lovely. I
It's
know. I know.
true.
I've heard the story before, and every time I just
She reminded me
chuckle.
of Mrs. O'Connor. Tall. Damn. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, this
So yeah,
whole
let we take a couple shots of vodka here. Just get
take some
started.
vodka. And we knew this was so fun too because of the drinking thing, right? And he's
Hmm.
trying to hold it. There's a nice wide shot where he's kind of like trying to fake it almost,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
he's not gonna. I almost expected him to do one of these and throw it over his shoulder.
Yep. That's
Um,
what I thought was going to happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course it goes to shit. Jim jumps in, he saves the day, comes up with a really good story, rips his shirt open,
Well,
you know.
before we get that, the Russian guy whose name is Volkov has a line that we probably shouldn't skip over. Says it's incredible how something that can fit into a case that small can wield such profound power.
Yes.
What the?
Yes.
I wonder if we're ever going to see what's in there. I'm guessing we will, but I don't know.
Well, we know that it cost $1 million,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and
Okay.
Sachs also says after that, I have it on good authority that this is the real deal. So it has to be something.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I don't, who knows if we'll find out.
Yeah. Oh,
I,
and
it,
they both say the name Xavier again too
they
after
both
that.
say the name Xavier again. Um, Now, I wanted to make the reference to there's another thing that cost $1 million. Remember? The car,
Yeah, the car, the Howard Hughes car. Yep.
the Howard Hughes car cost $1 million. They made a big deal out of that, right?
Yep.
So there's two things that are worth $1 million. I still think the car is connected to this thing in
I
some way.
I think Howard Hughes will be connected somehow to this whole thing too.
Maybe that's what it is that the Howard Hughes of it all is the
Yep.
connection. But I like it too. And I also just we were laughing about this last episode, like $1 million. But when we were kids and in the 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
that's
That
what
was
everyone said, right? We didn't talk about billions. We talked about $1 million.
$1 million was like this crazy number. Yeah.
Um, so I liked it that Jim comes forth and tells his whole story and all that kind of shit. And it's an interesting way for this to go down, right? Because when a person who you're in competition with, hypothetically, steps up and saves your ass, it actually makes them look better than you. Even though in the story, by the story exalting Royce, where we know and they know the truth is, which is he is the exact opposite, and that's why it's necessary to
Yep.
exalt him in this way. It makes him feel even smaller when he thinks about it later, is
Hmm.
what my
Well,
prediction
and
would
it
be.
makes it feel smaller to Sachs and to everybody else
Yeah,
on that
yep,
side. He may make
yeah.
him sound bigger to the Russians, but that's it.
And it
Everybody else
elevates
is,
Jim.
yeah, everybody else is going to think Jim had to save this
Yeah,
guy.
yep.
He's not worth anything.
And it was great. It was so fucking smooth too.
Hmm.
That was total LaFleur there,
Yeah, that's what I was
right?
going to say. That was Jim LaFleur. That's what that was.
I
Yes.
loved it. I loved it. He's, come on, man. Just put your fucking jumpsuit on and get to work.
Just tears
Um,
his shirt open and Sachs like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I say,
yeah.
"Hail Mary." It's just so
Um,
smooth. Yeah.
then we get the great shootout. This whole thing was so fun. And yeah, my favorite part was Billy yelling, what you have the exact words. I think he said, Daphne and Genesis are true love or something.
Yeah, well, yeah, where is that
That
line?
was
Well,
so
because
cute.
I wrote a lot of lines in here because it was crazy because right after Ezra leaves, that's when Billy is making that phone call and he walks right back in and he's like, "You fucking bitch, you lied to me, the plates and all this." And then
Yeah.
Leon and the other guy drive in and that gets interrupted. And then immediately after the fight is over, Billy is right back onto Nina being like, "What the hell is wrong?" I just that whole thing was great. Let
Yeah.
me see if I
And
can
then we
find
get,
the.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just saying that we get her story too, which is amazing.
Yes.
But the shootout was very fun as well. I like the way they did it. And I also think that there's a little bit of like I don't know. Um, I was like, are they going to kill these guys? Because that is like tonally, I'm kind of, oh, like it harkens back to that first time the guys got hurt in the car. But then they checked in later and they said, but they killed these guys, right?
Yeah.
So any good, Jim did do a good job earlier with stepping in and maybe slowing things down when Billy was getting hyped with them at
Yep.
the race car track.
Yep.
But did he? Because they just ended up following, doing all the, and then they ended up dead. So now that they're dead, what is Greek Sal going to think about his two guys are dead? And then when they walk into the hotel, Nina says, I wanted to check the news,
Well, it's kind of what Jim has
right?
done this whole series where he puts out the small fire, but every time he puts out the small fire, it makes a bigger fire down the road. And it's
Yeah.
kind of been happening that way every single episode. And I think that's kind of what the reference at the end of it is to that's a tomorrow problem. I think that's kind of what that's
Yep.
referencing is there. The line from Billy is Daphne and Genesis are true love, you fucks.
Yeah, there you go. I thought that was awesome, man.
Yes,
It was
it was
just so
great.
cute that he yelled, and then it was like,
Yes,
"Oh," and he was like running back, and he was
yes.
injured and everything.
Hmm.
I like him. I
Yeah,
want to like him.
yep.
Yeah, that's fun. But what were we talking about just
Just the
before
whole,
that?
yeah. Nina's story and some of that stuff. Royce saying, "Pam Grier, eat your fucking heart out." I mean, there's some good stuff here.
No, what? Wait, just before you. Ah, I lost my train of thought. All right, I'll try to get it
Just
back.
before the Billy line,
Yeah.
what were we talking about there? Oh, how putting out the small fires and
Oh, thank you. Yes. That's I just wanted to bring that back because that's a great point, Andy. And it is also something that Nina does.
hmm
They just keep pushing to the next day,
well,
right?
and really, isn't that what life is? Just putting out one succession of small fires every day.
It is, but when it involves Nixon and a
Yeah,
mysterious
and
briefcase, a
Howard Hughes
duster,
and
Howard
yes,
Hughes, the FBI, and Sachs,
yeah.
there are different consequences to your
So a
actions.
little bit bigger fires than what you and I are used
Yeah.
to putting on.
So, but it is. I dug that though. I dug
Yep.
that that's the way it ended, and we talked about their romantic scene. You think? I don't know. I think it was a little bit more coming from Jim just because maybe I kind of we see him more in that role, right? Like
hmm
he's a Lothario.
But I mean, he is. I mean, he's old enough to be your dad too, which is a little. Not that that's unusual for a TV show, but
And us silver foxes know no age, my
I
friend.
I know,
Okay,
I know, I know.
I mean he's only 55, Josh Holloway.
And
He's
with Rachel Hilson's
right. I
probably
think
what,
so.
25, 30 maybe at the most.
I have no idea. Age
Um,
is nothing but a number,
that's
Ando.
that's
Come
true.
on,
That's true.
please.
The one other thing too, there, Royce is basically blackmailing Billy now too, which there's more blackmailing going on because he says, "I'll tell you," because Billy stole some cash to cover his bookie.
Yeah, that I like that you brought that up, right? Because we have to keep close. That's awesome, Andy, because we have to keep close watch on the alliances of this organization. And that was that is pushing someone who potentially we think could help. But now that I think about it, because he puts him in that because Royce puts Billy in that situation, like you said, of kind of not so much blackmailing, but just kind of like he's the
Well, yeah,
boss.
And
right? Like he just kind of pulled the boss card on him and was like, "Look, I'm your fucking boss,
yep.
and you have to do what I say, just like you did that the other day. I let it go. So when I tell you to something go, you're gonna let it go.
But I
You
guess
know
I
what I
say
mean? Like I'm
blackmailing
the
because
son.
he did threaten him though to say if you tell him about Nina, I'm going
That's
to tell
true.
him about that.
That's
That's where I
true.
was getting the. He's
That's
basically
true.
saying I will expose you if not.
Right. So
So,
that could either do two things. That could push Billy to Jim, right?
and we already kind
Or
of saw that a little bit this episode where they're starting to.
he
It's
gave him
like
a little
it's
bit more credit.
yeah.
That's true. But it could be a ruse
Hmm.
because what it could also do is cause Billy to want to do something to get back onto Royce's good side.
Yeah.
And he could do that by saying something about Nina or Jim or right, like because we just don't know. We don't know, you know. And
Yeah.
where did Genesis go? Did they just run off? She had ambition.
Yeah.
She
It's
has her
the
lady, but she's still got to get to work, right?
like. Well, I think that's kind of what Billy referenced at being the graduate. It's like they just kind of run off the end and
Yeah.
nobody really knows what their plan is.
Oh, I love it. You're right.
So,
Billy's right again. Um, well, yeah, so the tomorrow problem is, in a sense, everything that's going on, but it really is more so Izzy is on television.
yeah.
Jim sees it, Nina sees it, Sax sees it, and now
Yeah,
that's
there's
going to
a
be
fun little
bring
cut.
everything
They
to a
keep
head.
cutting there where like you see Luna saying, "Mommy, you're famous," and then it cuts to Sax. She's a problem we're going to need to
Yep.
take care of. And then Jim, how the hell are we going to fix this? That's a tomorrow problem. I love the last 30 seconds. I thought it was pretty
Yeah.
brilliant.
That's like the beginning of the last episode when they
Yeah,
were going back
all
and forth.
intercut. Yeah, very good.
I like that. This was great, man. Great episode. Another great one. Looking forward to the next two episodes. Gonna see where it goes. Jimbo staying on his toes.
Yes, he is. This was a really fun one. These episodes are just fun. Every single one has been so fun. It's fun to watch shows like this.
It is, Ando. Do you have anything else you want to say about episode 6, season 1 of Duster?
I don't think so. I think I got it all in on the actual podcast. I don't have anything left in my notes even. We cleaned my notes completely out.
I like it. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
Since we're here, we have just a little bit of time. I do want to give a shout out to our Facebook page, which is Daily DVR, a TV and film podcast. You can become a Facebook fan, a friend, or whatever it is over there. We talk about all types of stuff, including Duster. Actually, Tony, right now, here I look, our friend Tony says has a talking about Mobland. That's very
Hmm.
interesting. A lot of people talking about a lot of stuff. But we also have a group for Duster that I began, and we have not it's not not. Let's see how many members we have of our Duster group right now.
I think
63 members. That's pretty good.
yep.
Okay, we
Started
started
from
with
scratch
nothing.
only a couple weeks ago, so yeah.
Yeah. So I want to give a shout out to Curtis, Mary, Humanizer, who has been making some comments there. And I did put up a question, and I put this question up a couple weeks ago. Do you think Sax killed Joe? And I want to shout out Mary, who said yes, but it was to save his son for some reason. Now, Hayden said no. Humanizer said yes and no doubts. Sandy said yes. But I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. I think that could be a very high because he's seen that he values his son over just about anything else, and that
Yeah,
would be one way to
I like
for him
that.
to justify it in his head.
Yep. And it also, speaking of humanizing, it humanizes that character as well, right? Like it
Hmm.
wasn't, oh, you smiled wrong and I
Yeah,
shot him.
it
And
wasn't
I
cold blood.
Yes, and I also doubt that story as well, right? Like just because that's what he said to Jim, there's probably another side of that story
Yep.
too. I also want to shout out Donna, who said she's truly loving Duster. Costume and set design is spot on. The cars were killer. My old man actually had a black embroidered shirt like I've seen on the series, just shouting out the old school stuff. So we've had some fun over there. Ken Wood, Rick made a post as well. Russ says he was in high school in the 70s in Tucson, and one of my buddies drove a Duster. So we like hearing stuff like that. That's fun. So it's
Yes.
just Duster on Max. If you're a fan of the show, join it and we can discuss the show, any theories, any thoughts you have on it. Join Daily DVR, go to dvrpodcast.com. Become a patron at patreon.com/DVR. Thank you to all our patrons. We love you. We have only 2 episodes left of this. I just dropped the final episode of Sirens, which I'm going to create a unique feed for as well. And we don't really have anything planned, Andy, until September when I think Task on HBO, the Mark Ruffalo series, and that's like 6 episodes, I think 6 or 8 episodes.
Or maybe
So,
a FX show too in
oh, I
August.
forgot. That's right. No, okay. We're covering the Alien Earth show. So, when does that come out again?
August 4th,
Okay.
maybe? Let me
All right. So, we're not doing anything. That's what we need to be pumping there. See, this is why I do
August
this.
12th.
Right. This is why at the end of a podcast, sometimes I just ramble about what we're going to podcast. That's what we got to be talking about. We got to get the artwork up for that. We got to get the feed up. We got to do a preview pod for that.
Well,
We're
and
getting
for
into
that one,
that.
a preview pod for that one would be pretty easy because we could just do talk about the movies a little bit
Yeah,
leading into it.
definitely.
Yeah.
And when at what point it takes place, what we've
Yep.
seen so far, what we haven't. I think it's good to go over the history of the aliens themselves.
Yep.
Talk about what's his name, David, right?
David. Yep. Ash, David, and
Yep.
every Bishop, all of them. Yeah, it's yeah. We could do tons of
That
like
would
I
be
told you
super
before.
fun.
I could talk Alien every day of the week. So
Yes. Oh my God. And I'm so psyched to see Timothy Oliphant as an android. He looks
yeah,
awesome.
he does. They played some new previews that I hadn't seen before last night on the basketball game, and man, it looks awesome.
Yeah. The eyebrows alone. Maybe I should dye my eye. See, my eyebrows have not gone gray. I'd look very different, I think, if my eyebrows were gray like my beard, not my hair. It would look interesting.
I think you're
Maybe
right.
I'm going to become an android. Anyway, so let's rewind. Next up, after Duster, we only have 2 more episodes. Then we're going to be rolling right into Alien Earth, the new FX series. And we're very excited to be doing it.
Yeah,
So it's
actually,
only a
that
couple
there'll be
weeks.
like a 1 week break because Duster would be the next 2 weeks, and then there's 1 week, and then Alien is that same week. So,
There we go. I love it. And then we'll go right into that,
oh
right
no, wait a
into,
second. We're in June. No, we've
yeah,
got a
we're in
couple
June.
weeks.
Yeah, we got a couple weeks. Okay.
Couple weeks. We got about a month in between that.
Okay,
So,
good. Well, in that intervening month, subscribe to Daily DVR, and we're probably going to do a ton of one-off shows. I know that Gina and Jenny and I were talking about doing a little reality roundup, talking about Next Gen NYC, a new Bravo show, Andy, which is the sons and daughters of the housewives now have their own show. It's finally
hallelujah.
happened.
I'm gonna rejoice when I get off
Um,
this. You know what else I was thinking we could do? We did one of these a couple years ago at the midway point. July 1st is the midway point of the year. We could do like a top five of the year so far or something like that.
we're doing it. I just thought of that today, dude.
Okay, perfect.
I was literally going to do a Facebook post saying, these are my top 5 TV shows so far. What are yours? We
Yeah.
should do that. Let's
Yeah.
do that.
Because that
You're
was a couple
better at
years
that.
ago. We did a few. We did like 4 or 5 of us around the call in
Yeah,
the midway point and did it. Yeah,
I want to do that. Let's try to schedule that for like mid-July, and
I think
then
that's perfect.
maybe we'll see a couple people want to come on, and we'll limit it. Maybe we'll just even do like 3 to 5, just
Yeah,
quickly chat about some shows because we'll have a lot in common. I'm sure Severance will be on everyone's list. You know, Don't
I
you think
haven't. I
so?
don't. I'm not even sure what my. I'm sure Severance will be on mine, but I'm not even sure what my list is going to be yet. So I'm looking forward to. I always have fun figuring that out, anyways. So
You know
I'll
what
give it way too
show
much thought.
I'm going to give a little hint here, though. I don't know if we haven't talked about this show. And for those of you who are enjoying this chat at the end, subscribe to Daily DVR and you'll get more of it. Um,
We have shows like this all the time. So
I just sounded like those Saturday Night Live people, and you'll get more of it. Oh, it's going to be great. Um, have you been watching Murderbot on Apple TV?
I watched the first episode. I have not gotten back to it yet because I got
Okay.
distracted with something else.
I love it, man. I think it's so weird, but the tone is just straight. You have to,
It
and it's
seems
so
strange.
short.
That's
Yeah,
yeah. But
it's
they're like
short
30 all 30-minute
episodes.
episodes, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there is a plot to it. There's a
Hmm.
story that's happening. They introduce a lot in the first episode, and then they get into the plot. But Alexander Skarsgård is fantastic. The whole cast is great. It's so weird, but it's sci-fi awesome stuff too. So it might be on my list, is what I'm saying.
And if we're looking for other shows too, there's tons of other things coming out in the next couple months anyways, so we'll be
Yeah.
talking about random things like Foundation, I think is back sometime in the next month or two as
Yeah.
well. And there'll be lots of other stuff we can supplement just doing random
I love
shows.
Foundation. That's true.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, we'll let you go. Andy, have a great day. Thank you again, my friend. You're fantastic.
Well, so are you. Let's get out of here.
And Heath, we miss you. Hope you're having fun with the parentals.